Oxygen.
That doesn't look friendly. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Panzer here, and welcome back to Total Recon, the show where I take a look at games in early access, beta, alpha, or any other stage in between that I fancy. And today we're taking a look at Subnautica. Now, what is Subnautica? It is a survival game, and it's made by Unknown Worlds Entertainment. That's the same developer behind Natural Selection 2. For veterans of that series, you'll definitely remember that name for sure. And, well, it's an early access game, and it's very much still in very early development. But I thought it was an interesting title, so I decided to take a look at it now. Now, they are updating this game fairly frequently. It has been a little bit slow over the holidays, but now it's back up and running again, and we're going to take a look at it. So, options menu, there's nothing really much to see here. There's only a language option, which I don't think actually works yet. So, it all kind of is controlled by a launcher. There is you can change your resolution options and graphics options there. There's an experimental mode, which I haven't tried out yet for the graphics, but at the moment, this is what the game will look like in its sort of normal mode. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the survival mode. There is also hardcore that's going to be available at some point, and a freedom mode, which I suppose is the creative mode from Minecraft or whatever, so without the survival elements. So let's take a look at this and see how we're going.
In the late 22nd century, humanity is beginning to colonize space. Before colony ships arrive, habitation vessels are appointed terraforming missions. The Aurora was one such vessel. During its descent, the Aurora was struck by a mysterious energy pulse, resulting in catastrophic hull failure. A single life pod jettisoned prior to impact. You were in...
And here we are. So, yep, it's in early access. That's it. No, I'm actually kidding. That's it. That is the Subnautica, or I guess a ship? I don't know, I kind of missed the intro. There is a little bit of an intro that happens, and it gives you a little bit of background story. But that is the ship that we were in, and we're in this little escape pod over here. You can actually see your body. Although I don't think next turn that way. Either way, so this is the ship that we've just crashed in. Got a couple of little things happening with the graphics here. And here's a little escape pod, so we're going to have a look at that first. You might have noticed a tooltip appearing to report bugs and feedback. That is something they're very big on at this stage of development, especially. They're really taking the early access thing very, very seriously, because they're constantly asking for feedback, and from what I can tell, they're really kind of listening to the community. Of course, you know, people who have made suggestions and all that would be a little bit more familiar with that. So anyway, it's a very cramped place, this life pod. We don't have much here. We have a hatch at the bottom and a hatch at the top. Now this is for exiting, and I'm going to show you why you want to do that in just a moment. So as far as interacting with things go, this first aid kit, I don't know if that's actually interactive yet. And there is a storage bin here that we can use to access our inventory. This is kind of like I suppose, a chest. If you've ever played Minecraft, I'm going to draw a lot of comparisons with Minecraft because there's a lot of similarities here. Storage is kind of like basically like a chest that you would build in Minecraft. So it's a storage bin. It's separate to your normal inventory, which is over here in the middle. So we can actually just tab out of that, and we can access that by hitting tab anytime. But one thing that's still lacking is a lot of direction in terms of just general instructions. I don't know if we can actually fix that yet, but we'll find out in just a moment. So the fabricator is kind of your crafting table. That's where you make everything. So right here you can see there's a bunch of things we can make. There's building blocks for resources. We can cook our own food, as you can see. At the bottom left here is actually our survival indicator stuff. It's all nicely located. I like the HUD in that it's very minimal, but because there's this scuba mask thing going on the edges that you can see here, your field of view is rather limited, and people who have suffered from any kind of field of view issues resulting in headaches and sickness may find that a little bit problematic, but at least it's not cluttered. That's one thing I can definitely say. Okay, so food-wise, there's a lot of things. We have hunger and thirst to worry about. In fact, we're actually getting quite hungry at the moment, so we're going to have to find some food. And equipment, as well that will help us to use things. Now, the more, of course, that we equip, the less inventory space we have, which is a little bit not useful. Okay, so and then there's also tools that we can actually use. Some of the stuff that's quite clearly labeled as not being implemented yet, so there is that. Okay, so let's just exit out of that and let's go hunting for some resources. Okay, and a lot of this game revolves around swimming, and it's also kind of randomly generated. The last time I played, we didn't have this kelp forest going on, which looks really nice. I gotta say, the underwater looks really, really good. Like, it actually looks properly nice, and at nighttime it does look properly scary as well. Okay, so we want to dig some sand. Now, it does look like it's kind of block-based, but everything kind of deforms around it. Oh, we can actually swim up to the surface here. Our oxygen is depleting very quickly. And we can refill it by going into the life pod or going back into to the surface. So, as I was saying, the world seems to be kind of block or grid based. Oh, pick up some limestone there. So when I dig the sand, it deforms, but you can see it doesn't deform in a grid form. It kind of forms around it. I think everything is still. Why I say it's grid based likely is because I'm going to catch some of those fish. Is that it seems to. When it places objects anyway, they don't seem to occlude with each other. I have not noticed that yet, but it just seems to be built that way. I could be entirely wrong on that though, but I will say that it does deform very nicely. Okay, let's just catch some more fish. Now these fish, marine life, are actually how we get food. Come here, you. He's gone. They are quick, these things. They're a little bit cute as well. They do feel a little bit bad for cooking them, but there we go, there's one more. These do take up inventory space, of course.
Oxygen.
I think I just dropped it. Yeah, I think I just let him go. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to catch him. Oh, there's some more different types. I will say they've done very nicely with the... Oh, you're not something I can catch? Okay. They've done very nicely with the overall aesthetic of it. There's obviously is an alien world, and it's very nicely done. Like, everything kind of fits. I haven't noticed anything that looks really out of place. I mean, some stuff looks really familiar. Like this, I called it kelp forest because if you've ever seen underwater plant life like this, it really does look like that, and it's quite nice to look at. And the way that they've done all of this, it kind of moves and everything. And if you look at it long enough, that doesn't look friendly. It's very nicely designed, and the way the lighting affects it. Overall, graphically anyway, it looks very nice. And apparently, there is an experimental graphics setting that makes it look even nicer than this. So that is something to take in. Now, I know this is not the only underwater survival game that has existed. After all, I'm aware that there are games like... come here, you. Games like Far Sky is another example of a underwater survival game. This is doing it a little bit differently. Like, you can build equipment and stuff, but I'm not entirely certain whether you can build an entire fortress underwater. I haven't gone and looked into that. After all, the idea of this kind of show is that I'm just looking at stuff that I can see immediately and talk about it, so that's the thing. Okay, so we've got some sand. We can make some silicon, which of course we can use to make some lovely implants and attract the opposite gender, of course. No, actually, we can make a knife for cutting things. So that's a knife. And I think we need more sand. We might need more sand. Yeah, we need one more bit of sand to make that. But you can see it's very quick. It's just click to create. That's it. There's nothing more than that you need to do. Just click to create. Now, we are getting very hungry, so I need to look for... Aside from just catching the fish, you need to find salt. That's not salt. Which conveniently comes in little cubes underwater, which is a little bit... Is that it? It's not salt.
Oxygen.
Let's take some more sand. can cut... oh, it's called creep vine. That's interesting.
Oxygen, 25%.
We got to go back up.
Warning, oxygen, 10%.
Now, I'm not sure what happens exactly when you reach 0% oxygen. Because I've just never let it happen before. I'm a little bit paranoid about that. It did say cut it, and I don't know how to do that.
Oxygen, 50%.
But yeah, the idea is really just to kind of survive and upgrade yourself so that you can survive longer underwater. Now there's a depth meter as well, which is quite useful as well, because as far as I understand it, certain things can only be found at different depths as well. And you want to be aware of how deep you're going, because it can get very disorienting as well when you are not near the surface and when you're going around reefs and things. Alright, so it's now approaching nighttime. As you can see here, there is actually a properly programmed day-night cycle. Like, this isn't just a skybox that changes color. Like, you can see the sunset over there. And when I'm standing up here, it's not like it's a different instance or anything. Like, this is still the same. Like, I can just jump into the water from here. And it's still part of the area, so to speak.
Emergency. Starvation imminent. Seek calorie intake immediately.
Yes, we are getting extremely hungry now. So we're just going to sit here and watch the sunset. Because it's going to get very pretty at night. And I'm probably going to die of starvation, so if I want to survive in this, I'm going to probably restart. But just have a look at that. That's actually a really nice looking sunset. And if you notice, I'll just point the crosshair at the horizon here. You can actually see, if I just put it there, you might notice a slight swaying. There is actually waves, and the life pod that I'm standing on top of is actually bobbing up and down. So it is actually rolling a little bit. It might not be immediately noticeable, but it is actually moving. Just a little bit. Now, at night time, different things come out, and anybody who's had any experience with survival games will know that you don't go into the water at night time. I don't think this is entirely a smart idea, but you can see immediately it's very, very different being in the water at night. You can see almost nothing, there's only lights in the distance, and frankly, it's quite terrifying. So, that's what it is. At the moment, there's not a hell of a lot to do. I'm probably going to try swimming over to the main ship that's wrecked over in the distance and see what's going on over there. It doesn't seem to sink entirely, I'm not sure, but it could be happening very, very slowly. But there might be some interesting stuff over there. But it's just... overall, as far as survival games go, this is a very interesting one because it's on an alien world, but yet it has some sort of familiar territory to it in the sense that it's underwater and stuff, frankly, looks like oceans on Earth, just with alien fish swimming around. I like the idea that you are a survivor of a shipwreck, but in this case, it's a very different kind of shipwreck. And if that wasn't enough, well, it's a very pretty looking game as well. So if you're looking for a survival game that isn't... Oh, I'm about to die. If you're looking for a survival game that isn't...
Severe calorie deficiency detected. Internal organ damage detected.
That is pretty severe, actually. Oh my god. As I was saying that. Dying of starvation looks extremely painful. Well, I'm just going to pause that there because it's getting very distracting. So, that's all there really is to it. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Panzer, taking a look at Subnautica. Now available on Steam Early Access for $19.99 or your regional equivalent. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.